Well, folks, this season ended on quite the high note. Now, it's debatable which episode I think was better, but I want to be real. Like I said in my episode 19 review, both episodes get a 10 out of 10. This was the best pair of episodes of the entire season. While episode 19 had me in tears from the sheer emotion, episode 20, I feel like I'm going to hell for laughing at that funeral scene. Like I said in my previous review, when Jeremiah came up in that church, like I'm like, Lord, this Negro high. I know he is. I know he high. But it killed me when he got up there and started talking. And when he like, I'm going to do this dance for Mama one more time. Quiet, this funeral is over. Mama! I paused and rewound that part at least 19 times. And my biggest, and if I, DeVal alone is the reason this episode got a 10 out of 10. How he kept a straight face throughout the entire funeral. Throughout the entire funeral, when the pastor was speaking, when the choir was singing, when Jeremiah showed up high, when Tony, Nate, and Fatima took him outside to talk, when Fatima was up there singing, oh man. And then when Jeremiah got, oh man, this episode was something else. So, I want to say the first third, the first half of the episode was the funeral, and the back half was the repass over at the house. Oh Lord, I'm sorry. I was just laughing so hard. This episode was good. Okay, so again, season 3, episode 20, the big season finale, To Die For. 10 out of 10 score. And before getting into the review, please take a moment, hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description. Hit subscribe and hit that bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out when I post content. Now, besides the funeral, before we get to the funeral, we pretty much pick up where we left off. Fatima is heated. Zach is confused. This man jumps out of bed like a rabbit, grabs a couple of pillows to cover up, and hides behind the plant. And they're both wondering, Leslie, what are you doing here? Now, it is not explained why she is there, how she got in. I guess we can assume it's the spare key. Before she could fully even explain what she was doing, she was thrown out, and rightfully so, and didn't even have time to get her shoes. So Fatima is looking at Zach, is peeking out from the leaves like, uh-oh. How you didn't know that was me? Look, well, the cake, and it's like, yeah, what about it? It's because basically Fatima knows she has a larger cake than Leslie. I'm going to be as respectful as possible. But basically, she broke it down. How did you not know it was me? And I've said this a couple times, Zach, you pretty much bragged about knowing everything there is to know about your woman, inside and out, all the holes and everything. Yet you couldn't recognize that Leslie's cupcake from Fatima's pound cake. You couldn't tell the difference. And it's like I said, I get it. Zach was dealing with a lot in the last episode. He came back home, noticed the rose petals in the note, and he instantly knew what time it was. So, looking at the hair and whatnot. But then, Leslie in the bed looking like Fatima, but, well, literally the butt of the situation is half of her butt was uncovered from them sheets. Leslie is significantly shorter than Fatima, yet you didn't know. So I'm thinking how long, theoretically speaking, how long would it have been for you to notice this wasn't Fatima? Let's say Fatima was still at the store or something when Zach rolled up to the house. I'm just very confused by that. But regardless, Zach's like, hey, let's just lay down. I'm not laying in the bed till you wash them sheets. I'm like, yeah, good point. And I'm going to go downstairs and make sure this girl gone. Well, maybe I should do that. And you know what? Never mind. You do it. I'll wash the sheets. And I love how they take a moment to reflect. It's like, hey, I can tell you're doing better because, before it would have been pow, pow, pow. Yeah, it would have been shots fired on her and you. Because remember, Belinda came over to the house without Fatima knowing in season 1 and chased Zach upstairs, leading to a warning shot. Had this Fatima been in the same mindset of season 1, Leslie would have been full of bullet holes, and poor Zach would have caught several strays. I mean, hey, like Fatima said, I got to give her credit. She is trying to do better. All right, so theme song. It was good to hear one last time before we go over to the funeral. Because, well, this was indeed a black funeral. Because at first it started off, okay, but then the dysfunction came in the door. The moment that Jeremiah rolled in there. Now, the pastor's giving the sermon. Apparently, him and Gladys go way back, even back to when they were in school. And she introduced the pastor to his wife. But, then, of course, the sermon takes a turn into the evils of drugs and the fact that despite her addiction, she came to the pastor many times to, to receive prayer and healing. But at the end of the day, it's up to the person dealing with the addiction, to want to do better and try to be better. So next thing you know, the choir singing "Do Not Pass Me By." And I'm like, it's Thursday morning at 4 a.m. and I feel like it's a Sunday in church. Jeremiah rolls up. Got the hat on, bandage over his eye and half his head, shirt wrinkled, halfway tucked in, wearing them beaten down shoes. And then he just like marching down the aisle like he's part. You know how it is during like a church choir anniversary, whenever a choir has that march where they're swaying from side to side and it's about to be fire. Jeremiah doing that, making a scene, everybody slowly turning around. Fatima's the first one to be like, oh no. So he rolls up to Zach. And he's like, hey, scoot over. Man, I ain't doing this today. I want to see mama. Why the casket closed? He's just loud asking all these questions. And Fatima's trying to keep the peace. And Zach's like, just not he's high. He's high. All right. He's high. And, the whole time Jeremiah's just making a spectacle of himself. And Fatima's like, let's just go outside for a talk. Fatima don't do it. He's high. He's like, I can handle it. Fatima, if you go out there and if he puts hands on you again, all bets are off. So, Fatima looks over at Nate for help, and Nate's like, he's high. And it's like, come on, do something. What am I supposed to do? He's like, oh, fine. And then Tony and Nate agree to help. Angel looks at Bryce like, Bryce, you go help. Like, what am I supposed to do? He looks mad. See, Bryce, Angela, just stay out of this. Like, just, no. I ain't mad at Bryce. For once, this dude is going to he's using his head. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm looking at the situation. I don't know how to handle it. I'm just going to kick back. I don't blame him. Angela, why don't you help then? Anyway, so they managed to get him outside. And they just have a talk from, again, high, chapped lips and everything. Again, Amir's acting. He just puts his all into the role, and you could tell. But essentially, Fatima's trying to de-escalate the situation. Like, look, for your mama, just go in there, act like... Basically, Fatima became the mom. It's like, look, we're going to go back in this church. You're going to sit there, be respectful, and act like you got some damn sense, because this is to respect your mother's legacy, all right? All right? Yeah, okay. So they bring him back into the church because Fatima sings How Great Thou Art. Great song, great performance. And like I said, I just love how DeVal kept that stoic face the entire funeral, because there were so many range of emotions you would think he would have. Losing his mom, his brother coming up in there high. Remember, he's pissed because he just blew $5,000 that he doesn't have on a rehab program that his brother bailed out on probably less than a few hours after he dropped him off. Then he got in bed accidentally with his fiance's ex-bestie, who apparently broke into their house. And now he's sitting at this funeral, and Fatima's up there singing a beautiful song, and it's like you could just tell he doesn't know how to feel, which is addressed later in the episode. So the pastor tells Zach that, Gladys' son wanted to come up here and talk to Jeremiah. It's like, wait, son? What about sons? You ain't want me to speak? Well, for one, Jeremiah, they didn't think he'd show up. Zach is like, fine, he wants to talk. Like, no, I'm sorry, but your brother does not belong in the pulpit. It's like, what, you think I ain't good enough? I'm intelligent. I can speak. So Zach is like, fine, let him go. Fine. I want to hear this. Let's see what Jeremiah got to say. And then the pastor's like, no. It's like, no. It's like, pastors, no, I know about you all. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. All the times my mama used to come to you to pray, and then you make her do all sorts of stuff to you. It's like, you demon, you devil. And it's like, Jeremiah's like, no, I want to talk. The pastor, and look, it felt like Showtime at the Apollo, and the preacher was the Sandman trying to get Jeremiah off the stage. Like, no, this funeral ain't over. I'm going to talk about my mama. He went up and kissed the casket. My mama, when I was younger, me and Zach used to do a little dance, and they'll make her laugh. And I'm going to do it one more time for my mama. Choir, wrap us up. Sing a song. This funeral is over. This fool Jeremiah doing like he crying, doing a shoulder shimmy. Mama! If you have not watched it, you need to watch it. Like, the last 3 minutes of this funeral were a hot mess, and I loved every minute of it. So the funeral is over. And before they leave the funeral, they do like a zoom in on Gladys's photo on the the sign near the casket, and like the disapproval in her face seems to show what she would have thought of this funeral had she been there. It was a hot mess. So they're at the repass. And we can fly through most of this, to be completely honest. We just have various characters interacting. Bryce, Angela's like, go up there and talk to Zach. And it's like, Angela, would you please stop doing this? And Bryce, thankfully, he has his head on his shoulders. Yeah, I don't think Zach wants to see me right now. So, Bryce, go up there. And then Fatima, comes over and, thankfully Bryce just like, hey, is Zach doing well? He's hanging in there. It's like, okay, well, thanks. And then he kind of walks off. And then Angela's like, well, yeah, I just wanted to send him up there. It's like, you should know not to send him up there. Well, they're friends, Fatima. He freaked up Zach's money. Now it's not a good time. Okay, good point. And then, Preston comes by and he wants to, check on Zach too. Fatima actually goes upstairs like, hey, I'll go check on Zach. And if he's ready for company, then I'll, let you know. It's like, hey, keep an eye on this one, because Belinda shows up and Preston's like, yeah, I'm about to bounce too. So Fatima goes upstairs and checks on Zach. Now, this is a good scene. I know, for me personally, I like this a lot more than episode 17 and 18 when they were in the bedroom talking. Like, this to me, I thought was a great scene where Zach pretty much says, hey, I'll check with Dr. Reed on Monday for an appointment. Great continuity, because at the beginning of the season in episode 1, when Fatima, was checking in with Zach, obviously he's excited because she's pregnant, but also checking in because his mom just died. And she suggests talking to Dr. Reed. It's like, yeah, after the funeral, I'll make an appointment. This is some good stuff. But this is some real emotion here, because I feel like not everybody can relate, but whether it be a parent, sibling, immediate family member, sometimes you don't have the best relationship with a person, and unfortunately when their time comes and they're gone, you might not feel anything due to the fact that, well, you two didn't have the best relationship, so you don't feel any emotion because they're gone, and then you question whether or not you're the one with the issue, because I know I should be feeling something, but I don't. And if nothing else, Zach feels relief, because he always felt like, his mom's bad habits would, it's like, what could happen to her? What could happen to me and Jeremiah? But now that she's gone, it's almost like a sense of relief knowing that, well, now I don't have to worry about my mom anymore in terms of like the stuff she's getting into, because, well, unfortunately, her habits are what led to her demise. And, the fact that Fatima says something to the effect of, hey, I love you, it's getting easier. It's hard at times, but it's getting easier to love you. And me and this baby aren't going anywhere. And based off the cliffhanger ending, I'm like, no, don't you dare foreshadow something dire. Folks, she's not dead. We know Fatima and the baby are fine in the next season, but I just didn't like that cryptic foreshadowing. So they kind of joke about, Preston coming over and wanting to check on us. Like, is that a white thing? Very intrusive and whatnot. Like, sometimes standing outside waiting for you to come out to see how you are and wanting to come upstairs to see you. But Zach's like, hey, let me just get one drink. I'll come downstairs. Everything will be cool. So he comes downstairs and, he chats with Preston shortly after Deja randomly shows up. Looking good. And for some reason, Preston seems to just allow her advances and takes her phone number, which is odd considering their interactions throughout the entire season. But hey, whatever. I liked it. So he and Preston kind of checking with each other. Preston's like, hey, don't worry about the money and whatnot. Like, take all the time you need to work on you, and then we'll take care of business when the time comes. And Zach looks over to his friends because Fatima actually says that Connie and them, she invited them over, showing that, hey, it's security. It's not insecurity like you mentioned me having. I'm secure in our relationship to the point where I can invite your ex over here, no problem. So Zach goes over to his friends and Connie, which I thought maybe the cans would be brought up, but no. Connie tries to lighten the mood by bringing up, a funny story to everybody about Gladys, because apparently Zach and Connie took some money to go to the ice cream truck, and Zach pretty much says like, yeah, it was funny. I remember it wasn't so funny in the hospital though. So it's like, ooh, did Gladys like beat, Zach to the point he had to go to the hospital? Especially that money was probably drug money, so yikes. So that kind of killed the mood. But in the midst of everything, Connie just, reassures Zach about how proud his mom would be of, him and whatnot in his life, and, having a good woman by his side, and, reassures Fatima, ain't nothing crazy going on between me and Zach. What we had is dead, but I'm just happy, he's been able to find somebody like you. Then Nate and Tony join in the group hug, and they all tell stories, and they have a big laugh, and just everything is going good. Now, over on the sidelines, Belinda's just hating because, she feels like Connie is up to no good. It's, oh, yeah, she's trying to get close to Fatima because she wants to F Zach. Angela gets messy, too, but then realizes, oh, I know. See, this is why I didn't want you to come, because you just dragged me into your messiness. And in the midst of this, we go to the end of the episode where it's the clip, the sneak peek that was released. Jeremiah comes running in, followed by a big Repo and his crew. Zach confronts him, and he's about to handle this the way he he knows how, but he looks over to Fatima, who gives like a nod of disapproval and holds her hand over her stomach as a way to say, Zach, non-verbally go, Zach, think about what you're doing and what you might lose if you get into some BS. And then you could see the restraint on Zach's face where it's like, could you please leave? And Repo's like, all right, fine. All right. So he gets his crew to leave, and they turn around. Jeremiah just decides to sucker punch this dude, escalating to this huge brawl, ending with Repo pulling out his gun and shooting one bullet. And everybody's like, what? And then Zach's like, Fatima. And he looks over to where Fatima was standing, and she's not there. And that's how the episode closes out. So, Jeremiah, you have me crying, laughing at the funeral, but then you do some dumb stuff by bringing trouble to your brother's front door. And this is why I keep the front door locked, folks. All right, well, that's the end of the episode. Like I said before, these two episodes, what a way to close out the season. As you know, I did not have a good time with season 3. And as I said before, even if the last 2 episodes are certified bangers, it wouldn't save the season for me. I still stand by that. However, I am excited about season 4 because these last episodes were so good, setting up like Connie's cancer, the fate of Jeremiah, Zach moving forward, with everything that's happened. It's been something else. So, hey, if you are still on, I know a lot of people, well, they said they were done watching my content, but if you're still one of the ones that stuck by me despite my less than stellar stance on season 3, thanks for being here. Hopefully season 4 will just change the game entirely. But with that being said, you know what to expect. The season 3 retrospective, season 3 rewrite, a few discussion videos based on the finale, such as, the finale, the final 2 episodes, such as Connie's cancer, the funeral scene itself. Like I said, the Jeremiah stuff was great. who got shot, and the list goes on. So with that being said, please thumbs up the video if you liked it, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.